This and That and What the Fuck Else, episode 93. In this episode I'll be talking a bit about pestilence, some Donbas stuff, and some stuff out of the EU that is quite disturbing. And then I've got a few things about this gender story. Now, as you can see, load shedding. So I'm sitting here in available light. And as I started a while ago with showing some art pieces that I get to see and that I like. And I want to start this one with this image. This is a photograph on a railway station, and in competitive photographic terms it would be considered as a street shot. The reason I picked this shot is the lighting of the image is really well done, and it creates a great atmosphere. Looking at that image, you can almost feel yourself standing on that railway station. That is a great shot. And then we get to some BRICS news. Saudi Arabia expresses desire to join BRICS. President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed the kingdom expressed a desire to join the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa BRICS family during a recent meeting. And this is old news, but this is a very important thing to take note of and remember it. I can assure you the Americans are not happy with this, and you can see already there in that area the American hand is busy stirring shit in Saudi and in Iran. And the Americans are trying to play Saudi against Iran. So let's see where this is going, but keep your eyes open. The Americans will stir shit there. But I'm confident Putin has got them, I don't want to say under control, but he's talking to both those men, and I'm sure they're clever enough not to allow the US to lure them into something stupid. And then we get to the pestilence. Now, for many reasons, I cannot read these things, but you must read that headline yourself. And it's all because of the horse medicine. WHO scientist faces death penalty. India could be the first country to sue a WHO scientist for advertising against, and the rest you can read. The Indian Bar Association has initiated proceedings. This is important to take note of. The Indians are also busy with a case against Bill Gates. And then some more about the FTX. And this time it's relevant to the pestilence. FTX slush fund bankrolled fake studies to hide, and you can read the rest. This was actually, I still cannot believe it actually happened to all of us. And then you get disturbing things like this. I'm not going to read the whole article, you can stop the video and read it yourself. Bill Gates funded university accused of mutating the pestilence strains. The Global Foundation funded Imperial College has been slammed for allegedly mutating the pestilence. This is insanity, both in terms of redundancy and waste. And you must read the rest. This is the madness that Gates is sitting behind. That guy is very dangerous. And then we get this. And the poster said, baffled, the word that will haunt these sobs to their grave. And it's a News Target headline. Africa is only 6% vaccinated and the pestilence has practically disappeared. Scientists are baffled. Why the hell are they baffled? Many people told them right from the beginning, it's not going to work here in Africa. And then we get this, it's on crime. Sweden, after 8 years of socialist and feminist rule, has one of the highest numbers of rapes in the world, has the highest number of shootings in Europe, has the most bombings in the world for a country not at war. Socialism destroyed Sweden. I am absolutely baffled by what happened in Sweden. And then we get to the Donbas, and this is just a reminder. A resident of Donetsk lost her house after the city was bombarded by the Ukrainian troops. And yet the West keep on funding that. Nazis there, and those Nazis are using Western weapons to terrorize the citizens of the Donbas. But payback is close. I see that the Russian troops are now busy cleaning out that village close to Donetsk where the Ukrainian forces had their strongholds from which they were bombarding Donetsk. I think those guys in Donetsk from the Ukrainian military better pack up and fuck off, because they're not going to get any mercy. And then more, Donetsk school was shelled by Ukrainian forces. As Ukraine routinely stationed military in schools, they assumed that the Russians do the same, and having been targeting schools on purpose. Look at that. And you Western taxpayers, you are financing this. And then there's this sad one. There were flowers waiting for Svetlana in her ward. Chairman of the Council of Ministers of the Kharkiv region, Andrei Alexenko, came to see her. I think that congratulates us, the translation problem. The tragedy of a refugee convoy from Kupiansk. Russia is the aggressor, says the collective West. But when has Russia ever shelled a single refugee convoy or deliberately targeted civilian infrastructure? A convoy of refugees from Kupiansk shelled by the AFU. This mother's 2 children, 14 and 15 years old, died, and she herself, wounded, survived with difficulty. Guys, that is not right. And then we get to that situation which most of you would be aware of, where the Ukrainians executed Russian prisoners of war, and they videoed it, and they put the videos on Telegram. Now this guy, Ramzan Kadyrov, is not a guy that you really want as an enemy. Ramzan Kadyrov on execution of Russian prisoner of war. Recently a video showing a blatant act of cruelty was circulated online. It clearly shows how Ukrainian nationalists in Makivka, DPR, cold-bloodedly shot Russian prisoners of war who had earlier laid down their arms voluntarily. Needless to say, this is a direct violation of all the international conventions calling for strict observance of the prescribed norms of war. But the West, in its inherent hypocrisy, is keeping silent on the issue. The Russian Defense Ministry has issued a statement in this regard, and its position is primarily based on international agreements. However, I believe that it's categorically forbidden to take such monsters as prisoners of war. Not only did they commit a crime, but these Satan's henchmen cynically posted it on the web, feeling absolute impunity and permissiveness. I am sure that retribution for the crime committed will not be long in coming. We will do our best to ensure that these dogs of hell get what they deserve, and those who somehow manage to escape punishment are doomed to live out the rest of their miserable lives turning around anxiously. They do not deserve any rights or accepted norms. Why is the global community silent? Where are these mouthpieces of Western democracies calling for the observance of rights? Are they blind to all these atrocities? Of course they see it perfectly well, but they avoid publicity because, in the eyes of the people, the Kiev regime must look like a democratic oasis against the background of a bad Russia. And I have seen Telegram posts where some of the guys that were involved in the killing there has been identified, and photos of them, photographs of them published, and so I'm quite sure the Russians are going to get them. And then listen to this ridiculous shit. European dissidents hiding in Donbas. Mirella is a simple girl from Croatia. When she saw the doctors who were needed to help the wounded in Donbas, she came to help. But in her homeland, it was considered a crime. Now she faces a prison sentence in Croatia. But she's not discouraged. Donetsk is her home now. She will continue helping soldiers and tell the world about the everyday life of a frontline nurse. Strength of spirit that cannot be broken. Can you believe it? The Western hypocrisy has got no limits. But they are going to pay for this shit. This is going to come back. I'm a strong believer of karma. And then more. On the Donbas, Ukrainians have posted video of another execution of Russian prisoners of war. Earlier, the quadcopter footage showing the bodies of these dead soldiers was presented by the enemy as an artillery strike, but the video that emerged clearly show how it started. The POWs were gathered together and shot at point-blank range. The second video shows all the dead lying side by side with gunshot wounds to the head from the stabbings. Can you believe this? And they have the audacity to publish this on the web. They really are operating with impunity. The West promotes these things. The West condones these things. And you want to know why 80% of the world's population is against the West? Now, I looked at this video. You can go and find it. It was amazing. Ice Station Europe 2022. Right now, our power-hungry processes at the bakery result in an average monthly electricity bill of €9,500. And with the new energy rules, we'll have to pay €18,000 to €19,000 per month, says Gert Distler, who, like many other entrepreneurs, doubts whether his business can compete with prices. Regrettably, once flourishing ventures are closing or are barely making ends meet. As sanctions destroy the energy base necessary not only for the economy, but for ordinary people, how great is the crisis going to get? Whose interest do European governments promote? Very legitimate question, and in this video they had, it's about a half an hour long video, and they had interviews with farmers and small businessmen from various countries in Europe. I cannot understand that the European citizens have allowed that political cabal to take them on this road. And this is now for South Africa. On the energy front, given the thousands of megawatt always unavailable due to breakdown, surely the decommissioning of a 22,000 megawatt, starting with Kumati, 1,000 megawatt is bloody nuts. Surely South Africa must cope with current loads before seeking greener pastures, especially as the EU wallows in South African coal to fix a sanctions fuck-up. Eskom starts decommissioning old coal plants. Guys, this is madness, total madness. When you look at the energy, today as I write this tweet, Germany relies heavily on coal from Africa for electricity production. Please take your time and read the attachment and then ask yourself a question. Why is Germany funding South Africa to stop generating electricity from coal? And that is a very legitimate question from Engineer Kokomar. We know his credibility is not great. And then you can look at this graph, you can stop the video and take a better look if you want to, of the energy mix in Germany. And you can see on the graph, look, the volume of energy from coal. And the green stuff, there's basically nothing. And then this one, I just had to laugh. China seals one of the biggest LNG deals ever with Qatar. Qatar to send Sinopec 4 million tons of LNG a year from 2026. Agreement comes as China looks to bolster energy security. And you can stop the thing and read the rest. What is for me, something that I had to smile about, is not very long ago. Schultz went to Qatar to ask for gas for Europe. And the Qataris told him, sorry, can't help, we don't have enough. And now look at this massive deal they did with China. The world doesn't want any more part of the West. And then there's this meme that you must just now read and think about. When Victoria Nuland said, fuck the EU, she meant it. And that is the truth. Look at the EU today. The EU is fucked. And then we get to this Ursula von der Crazy, the pirate from Brussels. Ukraine demands 3 to 4 billion per month from EU and US. The head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, revealed Kiev's financial demands of the West to cover its basic needs while recommending the bloc provide 1.5 billion euros per month. She claimed that EU assistance in rebuilding Ukraine should be linked to a reform process to supporting the country's path to the EU membership, before adding that the EU's first priority is to reduce dependence on China in the technological field and importing resources. What the hell is wrong with this woman? And my question is, where the fuck does the EU get the money to give to the Ukraine? The EU citizens are struggling like hell as it is. And the EU is bankrupt, but they've got money for Ukraine. And then we get to some more madness from this Ursula von der Crazy. Can Europe dominate the world is the question. Ursula von der Leyen believes she can decide who should own valuable resources. Take lithium or rare earth metals. They are vital to the green and digital transition. The bad news is that one country dominates the global market. It is China. Of course, Ursula would like to dominate all markets alone, but the world where the interest of only several countries and individual groups of people were considered inexorably comes to a thing of the past. The war in Ukraine is not only a European war, it's a war for the future of the world, says she. She's right about that. Only for the future of the new world, where the interest of all countries will be considered and defended, where equality and justice will be the lead. And I included this here because of the ridiculousness of it. Where the hell does she come from to have this attitude because China has got most of the raw materials for the green energy systems? Then they conduct themselves like decent, trustworthy trade partners, and they make a deal with China on that. That's how it's supposed to work. If your neighbor has got something you want, you can get to an arrangement and you trade. Fair trade. But look how stupid they were. They had a damn good deal with Russia for decades on the gas. And all of a sudden they decided they know better and they will fuck Russia up. And now it's backfiring. And then we get to the gender shit. And you have to look at this image and you just have to smile. If you see a bulge in a conservative woman's pants, it is a gun. If you see a bulge in a liberal woman's pants, it's a penis. And how true is that? And then we get to this fucking madness in San Francisco. I couldn't believe it. San Francisco introduced a guaranteed income for transgender people. Now in the city of London, Brit, the authorities will pay trans people $1,200 a month for nothing. You don't even have to cut your dick. All you have to do is say you're a woman now. I want to drop everything, go to San Francisco and call myself a woman. Where the hell does this official think the money is coming from to do these payments? Where? And then we've got this little bit from Putin. Putin puts Facebook on notice. Stop promoting pedophilia or I'll crush you. I don't know how you're going to do the crushing, but I think Zuckerberg better listen. And then we get this, and this is from Qatar, and this is maybe a little bit of satire or whatever, but there's a bigger message here. World Cup halftime entertainment will make the change from penalty kicking competition, organizers insist. And then they show how this guy is being whipped, this criminal being whipped. The reality is, that is Qatar. That is their tradition. That is how they operate. They do not tolerate any gay shit there. They don't allow alcohol there. And there is serious consequences for criminals. From public whippings to chopping their heads off. And that is how it worked there. And if you go to Qatar, you better respect that country's traditions and their rules and enjoy what the country can offer you. You don't go there and try and dictate to them that they must be as satanic as you are. And I see a lot of people got into trouble with the gay shit and so forth there. The Qataris is not taking nonsense from them. But the arrogance of the West is absolutely without limits. They think they can go wherever they want in this world and then go and push their stupid ideas onto any country. There are countries in this world where the population is happy with a king. There are countries in this world where the population is happy with a military ruler set. There are countries in this world where the people prefer a dictator. If you look, many of the developing countries are fairly barbarian. So you cannot have these high-end, super sophisticated rules there because it's not going to work for that population. That population only understands one thing, and that is force. And they only respect strength. So look again at that image from Qatar and imagine it. Time that we bring this back into South Africa on Fridays, on the city squares, the criminals for the week, petty criminals, get their fucking whipping and go home. And then we get to that what a fuck. And this what a fuck suits me perfectly, and I think you will understand why I like this one. People who use a lot of swear words tend to be more honest and trustworthy, human behavioral studies suggest. And there you have it. You must accept I am very trustworthy based on this. And on that note, please give me a like, a subscribe, and a share. Thank you very much.